Alright, contrary to the background picture today, we are not reviewing a train wreck. We have this little guy from Arnold. I'll go on and take it out of the box there so you can get a better look. Here it is in all of its glory with the, I don't even know what you call these things that pop up there. Overall not bad. I got this from a dealer in Germany, DM Toys, if you heard of them. They're a large selection, or a large supplier of N-scale models and stuff. I believe I got this off of an eBay auction they were having with their new stuff. So this is new. I bought new, even though it was an eBay auction. So we'll get it going here and start this review of this guy. Alright, here we got it out on the track here with some cool gray coaches behind it. They are some vintage Fleischmann ones I have still. Again, for the purposes of running it around today, these top little things will not fit under my TV stand, so I'm going to have to push them down if I can get them to stay. And I think it's coming off when I do that. There we go. However, I think the back wheels came off there. So let's see if I can get it back on. I know this one's going to be a struggle because those low profile wheels are hard to get on there. I think I got it. So yeah. We'll get her going here and run it around. Alright, first impression, I kind of thought it was a little plain. I mean, I knew I was getting it when I got it, but just the overall design of the engine itself I feel is a little boring. It could be spruced up a little bit, especially on the sides there. Pretty flat and dull. I think they did a good job on the wheels. There's a lot going on down there. And the top bit is pretty cool as well. They did a good job there too. But overall, for the look, you know, I gave it a 6. It's not the worst in the world, but you know, kind of in the middle. Because they did get some good parts right. That's why it ticked up to 6. Materials here, you know, it's all plastic from what I can tell. Plastic casing, plastic little bits all throughout. Nothing feels super cheap, but I am giving it a 6. I've definitely seen better, but I've also for sure seen worse. Overall though, it does seem fairly solidly built. Uniqueness, I don't think there's anything too special about this. You know, I give it a 4. See these type of engines all over the place. So I'm not too impressed with the blandness, if you will, and how common these kind of are. Now you probably heard it when running around there. Whisper quiet. This is probably one of the most quietest engines I have. Very impressed with that. Gave it a full 10. You can't hardly hear the motor running at all. The sound you do hear is probably the noise of the coach cars behind it clicking over along there. But the noise, I mean, even if you crank it up to almost full speed, you don't hear the engine at all, or barely do. So, gave it a full 10, can't get much better than that. As for power, this thing needs a lot of it to get going. Barely starts to move, 60-ish% up the dial, and even at full speed, it doesn't really go that fast because it needs a lot of power to get going there. Even though it is super smooth, it does feel like it needs a lot of power to get going. I give it a 4. Probably one of the most power-consuming engines that I have. Now, because it does need so much power, I don't think it can pull that many cars because that motor just isn't powerful enough. It doesn't have enough power to pull much behind it. I like to run this thing when I'm cleaning my track, or if I'm running it with cars with lights, because a lot of times I don't have DCC, so I need to really crank up the juice in order to get the lights going. But since this thing takes so much power to get going, I can run cars that have lights and they come on at slow speeds because this thing needs a lot of juice to get going. So I like it in that regards, but at the same time, you know, the motor strength is what it is. I give it a 6 because it can't pull that much behind it. Once you start stacking them up, you do stall out on the ramps and the turns and such because it just doesn't have enough juice to get going. Now I do believe the motor is powerful, but there's just not enough electricity going to it to really take full potential of it. So too bad, 6 is what it's getting. Slow crawl test. It's rarely smooth. Slows down a little on that corner, but for the most part, I mean, you can't hear a sound. Lights still come on. It's really good in this regard. I give it a full 10. Can't get much better than that. Yep, looking mighty fine. No driver. Train's on its own. But looks good doing it. No derailments that I can speak of. However, with these low profile wheels, getting it on the track, especially manually, and even sometimes with a rear railer, can be a bit of a tickle. So I give it an 8 because those wheels are, even though they're there, the wheels tend to move around underneath that plastic bit on top of it, so it's very hard to get on the track, trying to do it manually, as you saw in the beginning of the video. Now, the only problem I can speak of are these connectors up front. They tend, what I've noticed, to be a little lower than average, and so sometimes, not always, but sometimes the cars I'm pulling decouple themselves, especially on hills and turns and stuff. Because that is so low, it tends to undo itself. So I've noticed that on occasion. It's not that big of a deal because I just find cars that will work with it. Like the ones I've been pulling around, haven't had any trouble with them decoupling. But it can be an issue, so that, along with this thing not working on my current layout because it won't go under the TV stand, I had to put those down. Not too big of a deal for me, but it does tick it back on the problem area, so I give it a 7 overall. Still, it could be a lot worse, but it's not. I mean, like I said, I can deal with it. Alright, now I paid $74 for this little guy, which on paper might seem like, a good amount. However, like I said, I bought this directly from a dealer in Germany, and when you check the DM Toys website, they don't currently have this particular model, but they have, I guess, what is the next gen model, which if you convert those prices to American, US dollars, that becomes $197 for the cheaper one and $237 for that other one. However, the other one I think is DCC, it's all built in. So this one would have gone for about $160, $180 retail, on the lower end. And even scouring eBay, I could only find 2 examples. One was new at $120, one with Think, and the other used one was going for $100. So my 74 I feel is a fairly good deal. I gave it a 7, mainly because I got more than half off to begin with of what this thing retailed for. So I think I did pretty good. Alright, summing it all up, comes in at 68, beats the average of 64 of the ones I've done so far, puts it at 12th overall of the 22, so kind of right in the middle. I'm certainly happy with it. I love the quietness of it. That's the best thing about it. Like I said, the look, I could give or take. It's kind of generic, but it's the functionality that really stand this one out. Certainly the quietness of that motor, and how it can go slow with consuming a lot of power, which means that my cars with lights will turn on much sooner when this thing goes around. So overall, pretty happy. I'm kind of shocked it didn't get a little higher actually on the scale, but hey, what can you do? Those are the rankings. That'll be all for this one. Let me know what you think below. Any ideas you think I could do with the layout or whatnot? I'd love to hear. Also, stay tuned for more because I still have a lot to get through when it comes to reviews like this. So, happy watching.